Hello and welcome to my Yu-Gi-Oh channel. Today we're looking at a brand new concept for an archetype which is referred to as the corporate sellout deck. This is a new archetype within Yu-Gi-Oh Rush Duels. Shining Employee brand new is a level 4 light attribute machine type normal monster with 1400 attack and 600 defense. A newbie drone that continues to update through trial and error. It operates on a frantic pace. I like the design of the card just because it synergizes the whole idea that you're going to have some new employees. It's very much machine based and very robotic, combining like personal traits of humans alongside the mechanical force that is the machine types. For a level 4, 1400 attack points is reasonable. And I think the naming of this card is quite interesting. I have actually covered these cards before when they were introduced within the anime episode, and I will actually leave that in the link down below if you want to see my original opinions of those cards and whether those opinions have actually changed. Corporate Soldier Shine Black is a level 5 light attribute machine type normal monster with 1700 attack and 600 defense. A mid-level drone that allocates most of its memory to trying to get ahead in life. Its report is a storm filed with slander. So the idea of this card is it's almost like the gossip, it's the enforcer, it's basically the manager that blames everyone else for his own incompetencies. I liken that very much to the workplaces I've been to. I know it absolutely happens. For a level 5, 1700 attack points isn't enough to make it viable as a card. But again, I do like the design of it and I can understand where they're coming from. Shining SP Corporate Guard is a level 5 light attribute machine type effect monster with 1000 attack and 1800 defense. The requirement: during the main phase this card is normal or special summoned. You can pay 600 life points to activate this. The effect is to choose one up to 1 deadly business card exchange and 1 energy drink Z in your graveyard and set them in your spell and trap card zone. During this turn, monsters that are non-machine type you control cannot attack. So again, this being a level 5 means it requires a tribute. This is defensive version, so that's fine. And the requirement is just during the turn it's normal or special summoned, you just pay 600 life points to use the effect. It has to be used instantaneously based on its summoning on that turn, but it's only 600 life points, it's not too much to cost. The effect is basically to set 2 cards that you've already used within your graveyard back to your field, and then you'll be able to use them during your next turn or during your opponent's turn. It all depends on what those cards actually do as to whether this effect is actually that usable. And as for the fact non-machines cannot attack during the turn, not a problem, all of these cards are machine types. So it kind of skirts around its own restrictions. Shining Black Corporate King Archetype, the Corp Corrupt, is a level 7 light attribute machine type effect monster with 2400 attack and 600 defense. The requirement: if your opponent controls a face-up monster, must be level 7 or higher. You can activate this by sending 1 monster from your hand to the graveyard. The effect: you can choose up to 1 attack salary cut and 1 battle demotion from your graveyard and set them in your spell and trap zone. Again, this card is a level 7 monster. It's meant to be some kind of very high CEO type of figure. It's a machine type as well, so it's meant to be very dominating, as a lot of the machine types within some of the past games, even within Yu-Gi-Oh! Zeal, even within things like Number 9 Dyson Sphere, some of those types of cards have all been very oppressive looking machine type monsters. And this is following that same kind of trend. The requirement itself happens to only activate if your opponent has a high level monster. It must be level 7 or higher, but it only requires you to send a monster from your hand to the graveyard whilst that condition has been met, so that's not a problem. This effect is determined based on whether those 2 cards mentioned, the attack salary cut and the battle demotion, are actually usable, because as long as they are, that's a decent effect. If they aren't, then this card is essentially just like a vanilla monster. Deadly Business Card Exchange is a normal spell card with a requirement: if you control a face-up Shining Black Corporate King Archetype the Corrupt, you can activate this. The effect is to choose 1 face-up monster at level 7 or lower your opponent controls and destroy it. If you destroy the monster with this effect, you can choose 1 monster at level 5 or lower machine type in your graveyard and special summon it to your side of the field face up. The good thing about this card is that you can actually use its requirement based on the requirement of the previous monster, the King Archetype, the Corrupt, to actually recover this card. And the fact is, your opponent has to have a level 7 monster on their field to be able to trigger this effect. And that means you can actually instantly destroy one of their decent level monsters. And if you happen to do that, you're then able to add to your field presence by special summoning any of your low level machine types from the graveyard to your side of the field in whichever position you prefer, adding to your field advantage. Energy Drink the Zed is a normal spell card with no requirements. The effect is to choose one face-up normal monster you control. You gain 100 life points times the chosen monster's level. I think this is quite a disappointment because, relatively speaking, the normal monsters you have here, I mean, you've got a level 4, so that's 400 life points, but you don't have many other examples of this. Even if you were to splash other cards in, say a level 8 monster, that's 800 life points for a very restrictive card that you might lose that many life points within your next turn, whereas you could have drawn into something that's actually a lot more strong than this card. Attack Salary Cut is a normal trap card with the requirement when your opponent's monster level 8 or lower declares an attack on a face-up monster you control, you can pay 600 life points to activate this. The effect is the attacking monster loses 400 attack until the end of the turn. Then neither monster can be destroyed by that battle. So essentially what this card does is you do have to activate when your opponent declares an attack with a level 8 or lower monster, and you do have to pay 600 life points for the privilege. It does reduce your opponent's monster by 400 attack points, but neither monster is destroyed by that battle. That means you're protecting one of your monsters, and you're also making it more difficult for your opponent to actually get over all of your monsters within that same turn. Even if your opponent's monsters happen to have more attack points than that 400 points reduction, it at least reduces the amount of battle damage you take by that 400, and at least it lets your monsters survive that duration of the turn. And the final card here is Battle Demotion. It's a normal trap card with the requirement when your opponent's monster declares an attack on a face-up monster, must be machine type, you control, you can activate this by paying 600 life points. The effect is to choose one attack position monster your opponent controls and change it to face-up defense position. I liken this a lot to things such as negate attack or things such as hero barrier, because what this does is this stops an attack from going through. Even things such as threatening roar would actually be a good example. But the problem is it only lasts for one attack, so that means if your opponent has multiple monsters on their field, they can help let you trigger this effect off, and then if you've got nothing else, they know that you've got no other threats on your field, and they can go straight into those attacks. The life point cost, again being 600 life points, seems to be the standard for all of these life point cost cards. But actually, as its own mini archetype, I look forward to seeing how it would play alongside some generic machine type support, which I'm sure we'll be getting in the future. Here's hoping actually we can build a new type of deck from this, and it's something I'd love to play test in the future. Whatever you guys think of this deck, please leave those comments down below. Check out my old video, see if my opinions have changed at all on this archetype, and comment down below what you actually think yourselves. And like the video if you enjoy it, and don't forget to subscribe for more daily Yu-Gi-Oh content.